Welcome to this week's episode of the Baseball Together podcast, Baseball Family. The Dodgers won the World Series in 6 games, and then we're going to get into some free agent stuff, and we're going to wrap up the season right now.
9 Plus Us presents the Baseball Together podcast with your hosts, Blackjack Brad and Kansas City Little Big Briggy Blue Eyes. And now, Baseball Together.
Welcome to this week's episode of the Baseball Together podcast, Baseball Family. I am Brad, and as always, I'm joined by our guy, Brig.
What's up, Baseball Family?
All right, there's a lot going on in the last week. With the season ending, the Dodgers won the World Series in 6 games. We'll get into that in just a minute. But man, free agents, transactions of all kinds going on everywhere. Brig, let's start with the World Series. Game 6 was all we missed. Last week's episode, we were talking about everything through Game 5. All we missed was Game 6. Some interesting things happened there, Brig. Are you surprised that the Dodgers won Game 6 at all? Are you surprised?
No, I wouldn't say I'm surprised. Maybe a little disappointed, but not surprised.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you called it, so
I did, and I was a little bit surprised that I called it because I never do. Anytime I say somebody's going to win in 6, it always goes 7, and the other team wins. So,
Ooh, how does it feel, Brad?
Feels pretty good to finally get one right. That's why I don't gamble. Because I'm never right. So,
That's right.
But
that's awesome.
But no, the big thing, or I guess one of two big things that came out of Game 6 was Blake Snell got a pretty early hook after just like 73 pitches and 5 1/3.
Yeah.
Tampa Bay manager Kevin Cash came out and pulled him, and he was dealing. Nobody was hitting him at all. Came out, headed into the third time through the order, which I understand. Analytics say that the third time through the order, a guy's going to get hit and probably get shelled. But before I share my thoughts and opinions on this, Brig, do you think that was too early of a hook for Snell, or do you think that they should have let him go?
It was too early. Next question.
Yeah, it was. It was. Well, I was telling my wife about it too. I was like, usually in a situation like this, like they'll let a guy go 110, 120 pitches even now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's right.
Because he's got all off season to recover. The only thing that I could think of if they were saving him, with that few pitches is like, well, maybe we want him to be able to come out and close out Game 7 if that's the case. But I don't think you can play for tomorrow if there's a chance there isn't a tomorrow, right?
Well, and that's exactly what I'm saying. Like, yeah, you can't play for tomorrow. That's the perfect way to put that.
Yeah, and this is one thing that I thought was interesting is, like I said, third time through the lineup is typically when a guy is like, if a guy is dealing, that's when he's going to get hit. But I heard an interview with Dave Roberts on Dan Patrick last week, and Dan Patrick specifically asked him. He said, "Were guys coming back to the dugout saying, we're getting him, we're going to get him?" And he said, no. He said when they went out to pull him, he said that Mookie Betts turned and looked at him and smiled like, I got it. Because he knew, because he had already struck out twice against Snell. He knew that he had basically no chance, and he wasn't even close, is what he said. That he was not going up to the plate confident against Snell, and then they go out there and they bring in Tim Anderson. He's like, Anderson. I think I'm mixing up his first name. Anyway, they bring in Anderson, and he's like, yeah. And then he goes out and hits a home run off of him. It's just another case of a team being married to analytics, and not just married to him, but handcuffed to analytics and not giving their team a fair shot in the end. So
I wondered if it was maybe one of those phone calls from the top down, like we've talked about in the past, where the GM or somebody in the front office gets involved. I don't know. There's no evidence to point to that right now, but it felt that way, didn't it?
It did, and I think what it was is one of those situations where they lay everything out. They play the game on paper beforehand, and they say, if we get to this situation, we're going to pull him, but you don't take into account for how he's pitching. If the guy, he was grooving, he was on his way to throwing 7 good innings at least. And the paper,
For sure.
the numbers don't show that if you're not willing to look at what's going on in the field. If you got your nose buried in a binder like Girardi used to in New York, you're not letting your eyes make the decision for you, which I think is a really important thing, which I feel like Dave Roberts finally got right.
Right, and it took him a long time, though, and I wonder how much battling he had to do with the front office.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yep, and it's one of the problems that we're seeing in baseball.
Yeah, it makes you wonder if, how much pushback, even in so he's been with Tampa Bay. Kevin Cash been with Tampa Bay since 2015. Uh-huh. So you wonder, is this a cultural thing? But they're also getting better progressively. So I don't know. That's a tough one you'd have to really unpack it all the way down. But
yeah, you would. It almost feels like soon. It almost feels like one of those things where the front office and analytics can get you to the World Series, but your manager making decisions on the field is what helps you win it. Obviously the players do, but outside of that, I feel like that's kind of how it goes.
Yeah, I think there's a lot there. Can I just share something about Kevin Cash really quick?
Please do.
Since he has been managing in Tampa Bay since 2015, how many times has he been ejected? What do you think? This is season 7.
I'm going to say 6 times.
11.
Wow.
I am shocked that it's that few.
Yeah. I was shooting really low because I figured he wouldn't be asking if it was high.
Right?
Because he doesn't seem like somebody who... He doesn't seem like a Bobby Cox,
No.
Or a Lupinella.
Lupinella. Yeah, seriously. Anyway, I just thought that was interesting. I just stumbled onto it, but...
It is interesting. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
11. That's neat.
Jeez.
11 times. Wow. That's
pretty
good.
If he stands up for himself in other situations.
That's true. Or people around him.
Right, exactly. I don't know. There's not necessarily a parallel there. I don't mean to say anything negative about Kevin Cash. It's just interesting that, that here we're talking about sticking up for yourself. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely. I agree. So I think that's something to keep an eye on going forward with how he, now that he's been on the national stage, with the World Series and made a questionable decision, it's going to be something that I think people are going to pay a little bit more attention to with the Rays. I don't know that the Rays necessarily gained any fans in the World Series, but they definitely gained attention. And with something like that, you're going to be paying attention next year and the year after, whenever, as long as Cash is managing. What's he doing with his pitching staff throughout the season? And then late in the season, if they're in a race, as you get into the playoffs, because that's what people are doing with Dave Roberts.
Well, and to speak of Dave Roberts, let's same question. How many ejections since 2015? He was with the San Diego Padres in 2015, and then 2016 with the Dodgers till now. Mm-hmm. How many do you think
I do know that he'll get tossed out of spring training games so he can go play golf. So I don't think that counts. I don't think he does that in the regular season, though. I'm gonna say at least 20.
6.
6?
6.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Huh.
I don't know. I do feel like managers are getting run less because of the challenges and stuff.
Yeah, I think so.
So I think that helps, but that's a really low number, though.
It's really interesting. It's really low. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Anyway, sorry.
No, you're good. So there was one more thing with the World Series, just real quick, and I don't want to take a whole lot of time on this, just because, we heard about it ad nauseum all week, and we knew that we would, and MLB is actually investigating in it, so we're going to have more on this later. But Justin Turner was diagnosed. Well, he had a positive COVID test in the 6th inning of the World Series. Now, he had a test the day before that came back inconclusive, and then the results of that test came back during the game. Now, this is the only thing. This is really the one thing that I want to say about this is that MLB should have had a protocol for inconclusive tests. They should have been treating inconclusive tests like a positive. That if he was out there, positive, and granted, I know he's around his teammates, but if he's around supporting staff who's not typically around him anyway, like he went out and he celebrated with his team. I get it. He may not ever win another World Series in his life. But there is supporting staff who is going to be around him, especially when he took his mask off, that he's putting at risk. He doesn't know the medical conditions those people have. And I'm not saying he's going to kill anybody. I'm just saying he's putting people at risk. So I thought MLB, to use a baseball pun, swung and missed on that one because they could have put a little bit of a safety net there in place. And, that test comes back negative in the 6th inning. The Dodgers have a bat to come off the bench.
Yep.
That's really the issue that I had with it was that MLB did not have a plan for an inconclusive test. And they should have, because you got to think of everything. And I'm surprised that an inconclusive test was not one of the things they thought of. But anyway.
Well, this goes back to Rob Manfred.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The buck stops with him, and we cannot sit here in good conscience and say, I'm surprised.
No.
Every mistake he makes needs to be, well, there is another one.
Mm-hmm.
Right? At this point, I hate to say it, but at this point, we're not allowed to be surprised anymore. I don't know.
Well, the fans were raining boos on him when he got out there to present the trophy.
Rightly
absolutely raining boos down him, and he deserved every one of them because he's been poor in the last year, and he's been poor at his job since he started it, and it's quite frankly getting old.
It is getting old. It's getting tired.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it truly is.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, I like that he got booed.
I did too. I loved it. I was on Twitter just boo this man. So happy about it. But
yes.
But real quick, Joe Kelly did go on a radio show last week and said that he wasn't surprised that Justin Turner came back positive. He was quite frankly surprised more guys didn't, because they weren't in a true quote unquote bubble like the NBA did. Because the NBA, they were in their rooms, quarantined for 2 weeks before the season started up again. And then, it was to practice, and they had areas where they could go on the Disney campus in order to keep from, I guess, getting exposed by other people.
Yeah.
But the way Joe Kelly described it was they had rooms that had tape around them, but they were at such a nice golf course. They're at a resort. And he's like, I was in a villa on the 18th green at this golf course, and there were people hitting their golf balls basically up to his windows. And, they're right there just crossing over the tape because they got to play the ball where it lies. So.
No. Wow.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like. I don't think Rob Manfred truly understands what it means to be in a bubble.
If he's not careful, he will very soon.
Yes, he will.
The
Definitely.
bubble of social isolation and professional distancing.
The bubble of shame. Yes.
The bubble of
professional
shame.
distancing. I like the bubble.
The bubble of shame. Oh, that's going on a t-shirt. I am on
Do
it.
Do
Baseball family, stay tuned for that. We will let you know.
Coming to a shop near you. Anyway, okay, let's move on from the World Series. It was a good series, a lot of fun. I don't think we could have asked for a better series this year to just cap off such a weird season. But like I said, transactions of every kind going on as soon as the World Series was over. It felt like we had guys who did not get their team option picked up because for obvious reasons. I feel like with MLB being in such steep debt, 3.1, what was it? It was 6.1 billion, right? 3.1 billion. 3.1 billion.
Three.
They're trying to save some money, so they were opting out of like pretty much just about every contract that made even just a little bit of sense. Teams were opting out so they could either restructure or just let those guys go to save money.
That's right.
So to name a few, some big names, you had Brad Hand, closer for the Indians.
Yeah.
Carlos Santana for the Indians, Chris Archer for the Pirates, Charlie Morton for the Rays, who actually has done pretty well for them.
Yeah.
And then Edwin Encarnacion and his parrot. They were opted out. His contract was opted out by the White Sox.
Excuse me.
You know
his
the
New York
arm thing he
parrot.
does when he hits a home run?
Yeah,
The
no,
arm
I
thing
know
he does
about it.
with
I'm just saying it's a New York parrot. Yeah, that's his Yankees parrot.
Yeah. That's right. He did play for the Yankees. So some of those guys, I do think will get. I don't know. Like the Mariners opted out of Kendall Graveman's contract this week, but they brought him back on a restructured team-friendly deal, like a 1-year deal. And I think that's what it is. Is like we got to save money this year. We'll bring you back on a team-friendly deal if you'll have it. You know.
And it's all about if you'll have it. Yeah.
Yeah. That's really the big thing. Is do you see any of these guys going somewhere else where they think that they might get paid more?
No. Well,
is there anybody on that list?
Okay, hold on. I have something to say about this. I've been saving.
Okay, yes, please do.
And then we'll explain my answer to that question will come out. Here's what I'm saying. Listen, Major League Baseball's in debt. These very capable, very, very talented people are going. They're going to have to find a new home, or they're going to have to take less money to stay where they are. If they find a new home, they're going to have to take less money anyway. That's what I'm thinking. So, this is the perfect opportunity to put together a revenue share program and maybe even a salary cap and spread this talent out to these other markets. That's what I want to see. I want to see these guys go to smaller market teams that need way, way more help.
I am 100% with you on that. Well, and the thing is, the players will actually benefit from this because if there's a salary cap, there's also going to be a salary floor.
That's right.
These teams will have to spend a certain amount of money. Like teams can't be like, oh, well, we're in debt. We can't pay everybody, so we're not going to pay anybody. You know, they'll have to, if there was a salary cap, there would be a floor where they'd have to spend a certain amount of money to bring in a certain amount of talent to play. And I am absolutely with you with that. I did not think about that until you just brought it up.
Well, and I'm telling
Bravo.
you, the conditions are perfect, as the Flight of the Conchords say, right? Conditions are perfect.
Conditions are perfect.
This is what's going to happen is we're going to bang our way through 2021, and then we're going to have to address the CBA. And the CBA is going to bring about all of these names. Right? They're all going to do 1-year deals or 2-year deals. They're going to take less money. Mm-hmm. They're going to either stay where they are. They're going to go somewhere else. And what will end up happening is there will be all of this evidence and all of this information to back up the economic changes that baseball needs so desperately. It's perfect.
It is. Yeah, that is absolutely perfect. That I couldn't have put that better. I mean, you're absolutely right. We've been calling for a salary cap since day one, and we're not the only ones.
No,
for obvious reasons. And I think this could be the thing that does it. If Major League Baseball presents to the players' union and says, "Look, yeah, we had the veterans minimum, but there's also no floor on what we need to spend," and that could be the thing that really puts it over the top.
That's right. Something's got to change though, and conditions are perfect. So I'm kind of excited. I hate it. I hate that these guys are going to have to take less money, and they're not going to get what they're worth for sure. But we need radical change, and there has to be you have to make sacrifices in order to affect radical change. You just do. Mm-hmm. These guys are already on the cusp of not having options at all. So obviously they're going to take less money if they have to, if it keeps them in the game. So if that's the case and the mentality exists there, then they could go to the Players Association and say, no, we'd rather play.
Yeah.
I don't
Absolutely.
know. It's orchestrating itself without us, and that's pretty cool. I like it a lot.
It's the chess game.
Yeah.
It's the chess game.
Yeah.
But no, that's cool. I like that. I think we can leave those guys at that, because there were other guys who were extended their qualifying offers. There were 6 players. A qualifying offer is $18.9 million.
Yeah.
And these 6 guys are Trevor Bauer, Kevin, I don't know how to say his name. I don't watch the Giants enough. Kevin Gossman,
I don't
DJ
know
LeMahieu,
Yeah.
JT Realmuto, George Springer, and Marcus Stroman.
Yep.
Now, going along the lines of teams saving money, if I was every single one of those guys, I would take it.
Yep.
Just take the money and run to the clubhouse, because you're not going anywhere. But
the only time you would not take that money is if you had massive culture issues, clubhouse problems, issues with the management or the front office or anything. Like if you have issues with that, if you don't think the training staff is keeping you healthy like they should or could or whatever, any number of things, if you can nitpick some things, then I would leave and see if somebody else can get you a qualifying offer. Get your agent on the phone and see if they can call around and do some under the table conditional surrender stuff. And this is again another opportunity for big name talent to go to potentially smaller market opportunities. So, and it just depends. It depends on what the coffers look like in each of those teams. Everybody's suffering. Everybody's money's tight. So small market teams are actually less capable than they were at the beginning of 2019. But but I think there's room to move here. So if there's a culture issue, bail. But if there's not, like I don't think DJ LeMahieu has any issues in New York, and if he does, he's performing despite. So I don't know, like, and I don't want to see DJ leave New York anyway as a fan, but.
Well, I mean, if I'm him, I'm like, well, I just hit the way that I did in this ballpark this year, and everybody in my division's ballpark, I'm sticking around.
Yep.
There's no reason for me to go adapt to another ballpark.
Yeah.
Stay there, hit 350 next year, and then get more money after that.
And an MVP.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't see why not.
Yeah.
I could see Trevor Bauer sticking around. He seems to like what the Reds have going on. He's having a lot of fun in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
It seems like. I could see him sticking around. Springer, I don't think is going to go anywhere.
No.
Unless he's just like, I want to shed the cheater.
Yeah.
Everything that comes with being a cheater. That's the only thing. That's the only reason I could see him leaving. Because he seems like he has a pretty good thing going in Houston right now.
Right,
So,
but except
what do you think about JT Realmuto? Because there's been a... What's that?
Except, like you said, the culture issue, right? That's exactly the same.
Yeah, that's the only thing. And honestly, it's like an external thing. They seem like they've banded together pretty well.
Exactly.
At least from the outside, that's what it looks like.
That's right. I agree with you. Yeah.
But I want to know what you think about JT Realmuto, though, because he's had a lot of talk this year. There's been a lot of talk surrounding him. I mean, since spring training started, about Bryce Harper kept calling out to management during their intra-squad scrimmages, saying, extend him, pay the man. We need to keep him around. I mean, do you think it makes sense for him to move on because they did not extend him a new contract, or do you think he'll stick around?
Well, so this is going to be playing the market again. If he can find a home and making the same amount of money, then I think he'll leave. But if he doesn't get any other offers, he's going to stay. And I know that sounds like a cop-out answer, but there is a level of appreciation in Philadelphia. There's also a level of feeling not appreciated in Philadelphia. So if you can go somewhere and get all of the appreciation for the same money, then do it. But for me, that's a culture question, the same as it is anything. Why would you enter a situation, or like I wouldn't feel good about being the point of conflict in culture. That would bother me.
Yeah.
So I'd leave.
Yeah,
that's what I would do.
I think. Yeah, I think that's one to keep an eye on for sure. See what goes on there, because I think it'll say a lot about what's going on with that team and maybe why they haven't been winning.
Yeah.
As much as they should. So
yeah, there's
keep an eye there.
Something's in the water in Philly.
Could be, yeah. But last thing we have here, second to last thing. We talked about real quick about Marcus Stroman and the Mets.
Yeah.
Well, the Mets have a new ownership group, and this is why I could actually see him sticking around.
Yeah.
Because Steve Cohen was approved to buy the Mets. Maybe Stroman wants to see how things go with Cohen. But no more A-Rod, J-Lo stuff. No more. They have new owners, and I don't know. Maybe they won't be such a train wreck. But Steve Cohen, from what I understand, is not exactly a model MLB owner. So
yeah, right.
I don't know.
But that's okay. Look, if you can be a maverick, you can get a lot done. You just have to surround yourself with the right people. That's all.
It's true. And speaking of Mavericks, look at Mark Cuban with the Dallas Mavericks in the NBA.
He's the one I was thinking of.
Yeah,
he doesn't fit the profile.
He's the first one that comes to mind. Yeah, because he's done things very differently in Dallas, and it's worked out for him mostly. I mean, he came into a team that I specifically remember only winning 8 games in the 90s. And now they've been playoff contenders every single year since he's been there. Just about every single year since he's been the owner. They've won an NBA championship. And if Steve Cohen comes in and kind of mixes things up, and Major League Baseball mixes things up with the Mets, I mean, they could be back to the World Series again. They were just there, 5 years ago?
Yeah, it hasn't been very long.
So, they took a mighty fall, but they could come back from that if he does things right and mixes things up just right.
Yep, I absolutely agree. Could be cool, actually. So I'm kind of excited to see him come in.
It could be. I like to see the two teams that share a metro area, like the Mets and the Yankees, the teams in Chicago, the Cubs and the White Sox and the Dodgers and the Angels. I like to see those teams both do well because it's fun to see an actual energized rivalry instead of like, well, here goes the little brother in to the big brother's room to get beat up again.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Exactly.
So I prefer if those big metropolitan teams, like if they're both good. So it makes for better baseball all around.
Yep.
But that's just me.
I agree with you.
All right, now we actually have our last thing. Something I've been looking forward to for a couple weeks now, actually. The KBO playoffs started yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
By yesterday, I mean November 1st. I am so excited. I'm just sitting, waiting with my NC Dinos, waiting until November 17th at 4:30 a.m. Eastern Time on ESPN2.
Yep.
When I will be sleeping and I will be watching the game on replay later. Because I'm not getting up at 2:30 in the morning to watch baseball because I got to function. I got to do stuff. But
True.
I'll be definitely watching the game later. So that's actually something that I wanted to bring up is that you can actually watch the KBO playoffs. They're going to be on ESPN News, ESPN2. They're going to be broadcasting them throughout the entire playoffs. And if like me, you don't want to wake up super early or stay up super late to watch games, just get it on demand on the ESPN app. You can watch it there. You can watch all the games. They're going to have them. They're going to have them right there for you to watch. It's nice because, like we said, it's like the Mortal Kombat ladder. The progression.
That's right.
So there's only 2 teams ever playing, so it's not like you're going to miss any games. You just watch the one game from the day, and you'll be good to go.
Yep.
So
I am actually wearing my NC Dinos T-shirt and hat from 9+ Us on the shop right now. I just couldn't take it. I'm too excited. I can't wait till the 17th.
That's awesome. I know.
No.
I know. And until then, we've got the Twins who beat the LG Twins beat the Kiwoom Heroes in the wild card round. They won that series 2-0.
Yep.
And then we've got the Twins playing the Doosan Bears this week. The Bears.
The Bears. The Bears.
So you can either keep an eye on that, or we'll keep an eye on it for you. What's that?
I've just been waiting my whole life to say that in some meaningful way. Felt really good. Thanks for
Bears.
Polish sausage.
Setting you up.
Ditka. Bears.
I literally cannot order a Polish sausage from anywhere and not say Polish sausage. Like, there's a hot dog place in Utah we used to go to, and I'd order a Polish, and can I get a Polish sausage?
Are you talking about J-Dogs?
Yep.
Yes, a huge shout out to J
I
Dogs.
am.
If you go to Utah County,
Yeah.
well, I mean they're outside of Utah County as well. But if you're in Utah County in Utah in the valley, you got to go get J Dogs. You just have to.
And buy yourself some sauce because it's the sauce that makes it.
It is. Brad, tell me how you like your
Like,
J Dog really quick, and
legitimately.
then we should take a break.
Okay, I like my J Dog with extra sauce, banana peppers, a pickle, and let's leave it at that.
Oh, really?
True story. I don't do ranch mayo. I don't do any of that stuff. The J Dog sauce, I just like if it didn't just feel so like plain, I would just do the J Dog sauce. But I like the crunch of the banana peppers and the pickle to go with it.
It doesn't need much.
Yeah. No, because that sauce is fantastic, and it's always like dripping down my hands, like down my wrists and everything. And I'm like, if I wasn't in a restaurant, I'd just lick myself clean because it's that good.
So
how do you like your J Dog?
I disagree with you in some ways. I want more, as always. So I want extra sauce. I want celery salt, a pickle, sauerkraut, and banana peppers. It's kind of a lot. Lick yourself clean is exactly the right way. In fact, I had some friends come back from Utah a couple months ago, and they brought me a bottle of J Dog sauce, and then we used it again on Halloween night. So we use it a lot. It's
nice. Great. Very nice. It's really good. Yeah. It is really good. But let's go ahead and take a break. When we get back, we're going to wrap up the season for you.
Take me out to the ball game. Take me out to the crowd. Buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jacks. I don't care if I never get back with me. Root, root, root for the home team. If they don't win, it's a shame. For it's 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out at the old ball game.
Shop kids' baseball shirts at 9plusS.com.
Welcome back, baseball family. We're excited. We're going to wrap up the 2020 season with all the madness that it was. We're going to talk about some questions about how the season was handled. We're going to talk about award finalists. But first, Brad, I want to know, what do you think as concerning how the season was built? Do you like it or did you not?
It was kind of nice to like get to the pennant races faster because, every year you get to like August and it feels like kind of meaningless baseball for a lot of teams. There was more meaning, like as far as percentage of the season goes, there was more meaningful baseball longer for a lot of teams, even though it ended up being just kind of like the same teams that were involved, just because that's kind of how it goes and with the playoffs. But it was kind of fun to have the sprint because, like I said, more meaningful game, a higher percentage of meaningful games, and it was like, oh, here we go already. So I don't know. I kind of liked it. I don't know if I could handle it again. If it was necessary for the circumstances, I could, but it's not something I want. What about you? What did you think of the 60-game sprint?
I do know. I liked it as well. I feel the same way about it. I thought at first I was really upset about it. I thought it would be totally gimmicky. And then it started and I was thinking, holy moly, this thing's cooking with gas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then I got swept up in the excitement of it, just like everybody else. And you can't help it because baseball's happening. It's happening fast. Everything means something. And it's like must-see TV at that point. But it was too fast. It was too much.
Yeah.
Now, do I think 162 is the answer? I don't know. I'm still undecided. Now that I have had time to really decide what I feel about a 60-game season, I know that's not enough. That's too short. It's too fast.
Yeah.
But it has brought me closer to the, 162 is a lot.
162 can be a slog. Like,
Yeah.
it's like when you get, like I was saying, it's like you get to 100 through like 130, and you're kind of like, oh my gosh,
Even 95.
Yeah.
Yeah, 90, 95. Yeah.
Yeah, it can be brutal, but 60 games is not nearly enough, especially with the amount of doubleheaders that they threw in there. It's like,
yeah,
that it did feel really, really fast. Like we hardly, because we did hardly get any. It felt like it because that we hardly got any. But yeah, no, I do agree with you. Like, I don't know if 162 is the right answer, just because it does feel really long. Is 140 the answer? I'm not sure. Maybe.
Could be. I could see that.
But I could still see 100 being not enough, just because.
Agreed.
Just because, like I said, how many doubleheaders they can play, how fast they can get through the season if they need to. But yeah, I mean, the KBO might have it right with 140. I don't know.
Well, and so what's interesting is we didn't see, like, all of the big injury things happened at the very beginning, and then that was it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that,
like,
honestly,
the injury
was just because
bug didn't.
I think that was
ahead.
quite honestly just because of a condensed restart to spring training that such that the teams had their summer camps.
Yeah.
Because a lot of guys didn't get to play full speed like you do
Right.
in spring training. So I think it could have been something to do with that, especially pitchers, speed guys. Yeah, if they get a full length spring training and you have a shortened season like that, or shorter season, it's less of a war of attrition, which is actually
And
really
that's what
nice.
I'm saying. I think
Yeah.
it was kind of magical to not have to worry about who got put on the 10-day IL.
Well,
Like,
and guys,
I didn't think about it like I do every other season.
Well, and guys weren't getting put on the 10-day IL for a callus or a hangnail, Like,
Yes.
there were so few games that guys were willing to play through stuff, which I'm not saying guys aren't typically, willing to play through stuff. Guys are, because they don't want to get wally pipped. They don't want to get replaced. But where it's like the season's almost over anyway, might as well play through it.
Yep.
I feel like there was a lot of that going on.
Well, and then the big injuries as well just didn't happen because there wasn't enough. There wasn't too much. I don't know. I thought that was pretty cool. So yeah, there's like 3 or 4 layers of this injury thing.
Yeah,
that are worth examining and putting 60 up against 162. Both may be wrong, but maybe 140 is the answer. I don't know. But I think that's one of the most interesting things for me. Was there anything else that stuck out to you as remarkable and maybe even positive or super, super negative about the 60-game season?
I mean, the rules, and we'll get into that in a little bit.
Yeah.
I didn't notice them quite as much as I thought I would. The DH, I don't know, not too big of a deal. But like I said, we'll get into that in a little bit. But no, mostly it was just the feel of it for me of the 60-game season. That it started and then it was over before you knew it, and then it's like before you know it, the World Series is over. Like I was really wanting a Game 7 just so we could get one more baseball game this year, because we really didn't get that many.
Yep. Feels like the carpet was pulled out from under us.
Yep. That's exactly it.
That's the way it feels to me. Yeah.
Yeah, as soon as you're getting momentum with it, it's over. So.
Yeah. What did you think of the way MLB handled COVID outbreaks?
That's an interesting one to me, because there were 2 big ones, and they did do a pretty good job, it felt like, of keeping them from spreading too wide. They canceled games that were like peripheral to peripheral games. It would be like if you have an itch on your shoulder, you're scratching your fingertip. It was kind of what it felt like.
Right.
Because at one point it got to where, like, instead of there being instead of there being 15 games, there were only like seven or 8 games that day because the rest of them got canceled because of COVID outbreaks. You know?
Yeah.
So that part, I feel like they did pretty well saying we're going to go beyond and just be extra cautious. You know, which, like we said, for some reason did not translate to the postseason necessarily, but
Right.
But it did keep it to the Cardinals and to the Marlins. Were the ones with the big outbreaks.
Yeah.
So I thought that was pretty good. But I always just go back to Rob Manfred saying the players need to be better. You know, it's like, okay,
yeah.
but maybe actually find a way to enforce it besides canceling games and enforcing doubleheaders, and give some more tips besides be better. You know.
Yeah. Well, we call that leadership. Yeah.
And it's obviously lacking.
Yeah, okay. That's a true story. But and maybe better planning. Now, do you think that MLB handled the planning and preventative stuff appropriately? Were they lacking planning appropriately? Was there an air of desperation for you? That's a leading question, but I mean, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. I think what it was, ultimately it was a lack of planning, that it didn't feel like they took the time that they had to even come up with like a draft of contingencies back in like April, you know?
Yeah.
Of saying like, okay, things are really bad right now, but if things get better, maybe this is how we keep it from, you know, getting worse. That it was like, it came like end of May, beginning of June. They're like, oh, we're going to play soon. Let's come up with some protocols. You know, that they weren't even exploring things during that big break, that they were literally just like sitting at home waiting, just twiddling their thumbs, waiting for an opportunity to get the players back out on the field, because all their negotiations pushed things back so far that that felt like it was completely impromptu, you know? And
improv is exactly right.
And I did see Trevor Bauer said, you know, like maybe this is exactly what he wanted, you know, push it back so far by saying, oh, we're not ready. We don't want the player. We don't want to take this number from the players, you know? And then they pushed it back, and 60 games was always the number, like what Rob Manfred said.
Yeah.
You know, that it's like, maybe just be forthright with that and get things started a little bit earlier, build in a few more off days so you don't have to have quite so many doubleheaders and the season doesn't feel like quite such a rush. I don't know. You know, maybe be honest with the Players Association and build some trust going into a CBA year. But I don't know.
Nah.
Why would you do that? Why would you do that? What
know.
do you think, Brig? What did you think
like
about how they
terrible
handled
idea.
how MLB handled those outbreaks and things like that?
I thought that it was terrible. Honestly, like I said, I didn't feel like there was much accountability.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like if you're going to hold the teams accountable to make their own take their own preventative steps and put in place their own punishments and stuff like that, then you have to hold them accountable to that. And I don't know. I felt like they were flying by the seat of their pants. I felt like the entire situation was reactionary and not proactive or even responsive, right? So in my world, reaction and response are completely different things.
Right.
And I feel like it wasn't like, first of all, throw proactive out with the, out the window.
Yeah, no.
That never even occurred to them. But I don't even feel like they were responsive. I felt like they were reactive every time we turned around. So I don't know. Bad leadership, bad planning, bad foresight. There seemed to be no emphasis or effort on learning from, I don't know, the KBO or some other organization that handled it really, really, really well and gave their fans and their players and everything the best experience they possibly could. Yeah, there was none of that. It really bugged me.
Yeah, the
Still bugs me,
NBA, like, I don't know if you're alluding to the NBA, but they did seem to have it figured out. It was a great fan experience. It was like it was a little bit weird the way the NBA did it, seeing the virtual fans, but at the same time it all felt like an NBA Jam game. So they just turned the experience into a video game, which ended up being really cool. They had different angles, they had things like that. And MLB did do that with the different angles. They gave you had the fly cam. I know the Mariners had the fly cam down the third base line and into left field, and they had the rail cam on top of the first base dugout. Yeah. So doing stuff like that, But at the same time, like, that was really all they did extra, I felt like, besides letting you buy a cardboard cutout.
Which was the stupidest thing ever. And putting the stuffed animal in the friggin' seats. Come on. So, for those of you that bought a cardboard cutout, I celebrate you. That is a level of dedication I have not yet found. But the thing that kills me, and this is what happened with KBO, it's what happened with the NBA, they took opportunities to say, how can we be creative? How can we overcome this in a meaningful way? What can we try that will give our fans the experience that they want, give our players the opportunities that they need, and really, let's break some ground here. Let's blaze a trail. And none of that happened with Major League Baseball. And honestly, it's kind of disappointing. We all walk around, we're like, baseball's the greatest sport in the world. And they let us down. And that's where I'm at.
It's because their marketing team is failing. If they knew how to market those players, like we talked about last week, that apparently MLB does not know how to manage, balance a budget.
Right.
Like, their accountants need to get with their marketing team, like, okay, how can we get creative with spending so that we don't go over, but B, also so that we can market players who nobody's getting to see in person. Because they had plenty of opportunity to market guys with this unique circumstance, and they didn't do it. There were some markets that did mic up their players during games. That was cool. That we actually got to see that this year. Because that's not something you see outside of spring training. But
or the All-Star game,
Yeah, and the All-Star game. But at the same time, though, I don't know. I feel like there could have been more opportunity. I'm not sure off the top of my head what they could have done to market players better during this strange year, but I don't know. I feel like it could have been more, because you still would not walk down the street and recognize anybody in MLB right now. Maybe Mike Trout, because he's larger than most people, and same thing with Aaron Judge. But I don't know if I'd recognize Mookie Betts walking down the street, and I have a pretty good idea of what that guy looks like.
So you bring up a really good point about giving people access to players that they can't see in person. That's a problem MLB faces every year, right? With the broadcasting rights and the market, in market and out of market TV deals and things like that. You're always going to have outlying fan bases, or in the travesty that is the TV deal situation with Major League Baseball, even if you're in that market, you can't watch your team a lot. So that's a different conversation in and of itself. But they're always going to have the problem where the fans cannot access the players in person, cannot access the games in person. And that was the entire league this year. So, but they didn't even try to come up with creative ways to bridge those gaps. It's remarkable.
Yeah. Well, and so this is only kind of related to that, but it just came to my mind while we were sitting here talking about this. I think that Major League Baseball tries to take the NBA approach of, like, you can see the players' faces; they're not hidden behind face masks, like in football, right?
Right.
But at the same time, if you're sitting anywhere in a stadium, you cannot see anybody's face on the field, not a one, because the bill of the hat or the visor,
thank you,
is covering their faces. Like when I was covering our schools, when we were at Utah Valley, when I was covering the baseball team, I thought I knew what those guys looked like because I was at every stinking game. But I would get in the clubhouse after the game, and like I'd be looking for somebody to talk to. I'm like, oh geez, I don't even know. These guys all look the same. It's like I don't know what anybody looks like because I've never actually seen anybody's face, and that's actually a problem that Major League Baseball has that I don't think it realized it has. that fans go to games and they see guys, they see the name on the back, the number and everything, but they don't actually see what those guys look like because their faces are technically covered from that angle because of the bill of the hat.
That's right.
So it is something that Major League Baseball needs to address at some point. And like you said, I'm surprised and disappointed they didn't do it this year. But anyway.
So let's move on and talk briefly about the rules. We're going to talk about it next week in depth, but just, Brad, give me an overview. What was your feeling and what was the overall tone about the rule changes for you this year?
It felt like they were using this year as a petri dish. Like Rob Manfred has said that he likes the extra inning rule of starting with a runner on second base. And he said he doesn't know if it's going to be a 10th inning thing or a 12th inning thing, which makes sense. But that's something that he's liked, and that doesn't surprise me.
No.
But, they went ahead and experimented with the universal DH, pitchers being forced to face a minimum of 3 batters. But, I'll go back to it again. I'm really disappointed that in a year where you're experimenting with a bunch of stuff, why not experiment with robot umps?
Right? Yeah.
No reason not to. And we saw plenty of opportunity. Go ahead.
Or why experiment with the game at all? Why change the game? Why not change the way you approach the game? Why not change the way you package and market it and display the game? Why not change the accessibility of the game? I don't know. That's me going back. Sorry, but
Well, no, you're right though. If you're going to experiment with other stuff, why not experiment with things that fans really care about? Yes, we do care about those things to a certain extent, but really what fans care about is accessibility. Like, I live in the Phoenix area, and I didn't get to watch a single D-backs game this year because I rely solely on MLB TV to watch all my games.
Yep.
I did get to watch Mariners games this year because living in the Boise area last year, I didn't get to watch any because I was blacked out there. But,
that's right.
Like, in a year where you can't go to the stadium, there's no reason to black out games.
Yeah.
Especially with the increase of people cord cutting, there's no reason. There's no reason. If you're going to experiment with a universal DH, which is like throwing everything to the wind.
Everything.
Like, throw out the blackouts if you can't have fans in the stadiums. That part, I absolutely agree with you. That doesn't make any sense. That the other stuff was just kind of tinkering with the rules and the game and like trying to get a little bit more into the future because a lot of those rules have stayed the same since the beginning of time. But I don't know. Like you said, we'll get more into the rules next week, but those were the ones that really stood out with the season was universal DH, runner starting on second in extra innings, and then also pitchers facing a minimum of 3 batters.
The 3, yeah.
So,
those are the ones for me too.
yeah.
And like we talked about, the mound visit thing like dried up and blew away, so I wonder if some of these will as well. I don't know.
Well, it's still a thing. It's just that nobody.
Well, that's what I mean.
All the managers and teams have adjusted to it. Yeah.
Yeah, there's been no problem. No growing pains. No, even the fans aren't upset anymore. It's expected to be when we're not. So.
Yeah. Well, and same thing, and that's the same thing with replay. It's just become another part of the game, and it was always expected that. You get a close call, you're going to have the manager come out and yell at the umpire, go take a look at it. They go take a look at it, but since they overturn it, you're going to have the other manager come out and yell at him and get tossed. Like, that's not a thing, It's just a calm, check it, they check it, and everybody's okay with it because there's a standard.
Yeah.
So.
Well, with that, baseball family, we're excited to be with you here every week. Thanks for joining us. We want to invite you to jump on the shop at 9plusus.com. That's NINEPLUSUS.com. Tonight I'm wearing as I said earlier, my KBO stuff for the NC Dinos. I've got my shirt, my hat. These are available on the shop, 9plusus.com. You can just search Korean if you'd like, or you can search by the city, whatever you want to do. That's where you can find all this stuff.
Right on. And just real quick so we can get out of here. We've gone really long tonight, I feel like. But don't forget to stop by baseballtogether.com. You can watch the podcast, listen to the podcast. You can also submit to our mailbag. You can send us your questions, comments, any topics you want to hear about, anything like that. Or if you have a guest you would like to see us try to book for the show, send a suggestion there. We had somebody suggest a guest to us a couple weeks ago who's going to be coming on sometime in the next little bit. But don't forget to like, subscribe, rate, and review the podcast. Tell your friends about us. We appreciate you, baseball family. We had our biggest month by like a long shot. You guys have been awesome for us, and we cannot thank you enough for that. And go ahead and keep doing what you're doing. We really appreciate it. And baseball family, we will catch you next week.